minimize. Progression in teaching and learning. And what we have so in this smartboards, it's a way that we can reach a bigger crowd than a normal thing confined in a classroom. Yes. So we have the normal things you can go to do Word. If you're doing Word, I don't have to go to the laptop again to type. I bring on board a keyboard here. And when the keyboard comes, I say, welcome. Welcome. But of course, you're talking about pedagogy. You have to know the skill, how the roof will look like if you're doing in that perspective. It will be faster than coming to do on a chalkboard or doing something else. Besides that, sir, I can go to another page. I leave my one page. I insert a new blank page and another business. And then I can go to gallery where we have samplers.
Metal workers, we have plumbers, we have electrical, we even have the decorators, the painters. We have anybody and everybody who touches a stone and wood and metal and makes it into something usable. We want to thank KTTC and the TIVET fraternity, and it is at this point that I wish to welcome the chairman of board, KTTC, to welcome us in his home, as is the African tradition. Thank you, Chairman.
We are therefore honored to host the launch of the forum that develops the framework for competency-based curriculum. As the only technical teacher training college, we have the capacity and infrastructure to implement and spearhead the competency-based curriculum.
It is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to welcome Your Excellency, the leaders, and all our guests to this occasion, which marks the official opening of the competency-based education and training in Kenya. Housing Finance, through the Housing Finance Foundation, is pleased to be part of this very crucial competency-based curriculum framework, a development workshop, together with the various stakeholders in the building and construction industry. Housing Finance Foundation has been on the forefront of promoting technical education in Kenya since the foundation was started in 2012. Your Excellency, the foundation's vision is to deliver, facilitate, and catalyze industry-relevant and sustainable practical skills required by the building and construction industry through the creation of an army of 1 million artisans for Kenya and the East Africa region. To achieve this vision, Your Excellency, the foundation pursues 3 key strategic pillars. The first pillar being the facilitation of the development of a competency-based curriculum. Secondly, we seek to provide funding for students and trainees through loans, bursaries, and scholarships. And lastly, to deliver 21st century skills, which include computer literacy and other life skills to the students and trainees. Your Excellency, in support of our first strategic pillar, that is the development of a competency-based curriculum, Housing Finance Foundation has coordinated this very stakeholder-driven framework for reviewing and upgrading skill development programs in the building construction industry. In support of our second pillar, Your Excellency, and that is on funding, Housing Finance Foundation has recently signed a partnership MOU with the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB, that will enable students in technical institutions access education loans. The curriculum review and design process requires active participation by both government and major sectors of business and industry. As potential employers, industry has much to contribute in defining the competencies, standards, and values required. Given the above, Your Excellency, this workshop has 4 principal objectives. One is provide a forum for stakeholders to discuss the skills and competency standards that are required. Secondly is to propose the development of a competency-based curriculum which meets the needs of industry. Third is to train artisans to be employable, to be employers, and to be effective, Your Excellency. And last but not least is to seek stakeholders' commitment and involvement in providing mentorship and employment to the youth of Kenya. In conclusion, Your Excellency, I'd like to thank some of our key partners in this journey, which of course include the Government of Kenya through the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Kenyan Vision 2030 Secretariat, the National Construction Authority, Kenya Prison Services, the Slovak government through its embassy, just to name a few. In conclusion, Your Excellency, as you recall in May last year, I reached out to you, and once we had discussed what the foundation was trying to achieve, you were very quick to support us by assigning a very competent officer from your office to help us coordinate this initiative with the various arms of government. Thank you, and God bless you all.
The large turnout today is a clear testimony of the importance we all attach to improving the level of skills and quality of the education and training system in our polytechnics and in our technical and vocational education training institutes and centers. Housing Finance, in partnership with the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, in 2012 launched a nationwide campaign targeting to train 1 million artisans by 2016 to address the youth unemployment and also improve skills training. TIVET training is one of the key projects identified in Vision 2030 social pillar. Housing Finance is the first private firm to spearhead a Vision 2030 flagship project. The Army of 1 Million Artisans flagship project.
I look forward, Your Excellency, to the day when we will inverse the pyramid. Right now we have a pyramid where we have many engineers, we have very few technologists, we have very few technicians, and we have very few artisans. That pyramid is not helpful. The one that we are seeking to design is a pyramid where the base is broad. And that base is the one where you have 1 million artisans, and therefore the army of 1 million artisans. I've been telling my friends and colleagues that when you talk about an army of 1 million artisans, Your Excellency, it is a figure of speech. It is not literal. Actually, we need more. We need to flood this country with artisans, with plumbers, with technicians, with masons, with people who can paint everywhere in this country. So that when I go to my village, I don't have to import anybody from Nairobi to come and fix an electrical fault.
Slovak Ambassador to Kenya, all protocols observed. Your Excellency, it is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to welcome you, sir, all the leaders and guests, to today's historic and auspicious occasion, which marks the official launch of competency-based education and training system of Kenya. Your Excellency, I'm particularly glad because you have received a lot of support from the private sector. And to be very specific, a case in point is Housing Finance Foundation, Wapiga Makofi. I know that Housing Finance Foundation has been on the forefront of promoting TIVET in Kenya since its inception way back in 2012. the foundation has been very active in reaching out to stakeholders and forming public-private partnerships for the sole purpose of improving technical institutions across our motherland. And I want to appeal to other institutions, private institutions in Kenya, to emulate this wonderful example from the Housing Finance Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all may know, on 14th of January last year, His Excellency the former President of the Republic of Kenya assented to TIVET Act of 2013, which established the TIVET Authority and other related institutions, plus establishment of the TIVET Fund. In that connection, Your Excellency, our country is now among the League of Nations that have granted their TIVET a legal framework. This day, therefore, heralds a new milestone in the journey of this sector. And it is with great pleasure and honor that we are gathered here today to witness this movement that will remain engraved in the history of education and training in this country. Your Excellency, yes, indeed, it's one thing to have an act, and another thing to implement it, and that's the challenge. And we'll do our best, we'll do whatever it takes to ensure that we implement this important act.
Frank Hireri of Housing Finance had a telephone conversation with me because he had written a letter to me about an army of 1 million artisans. And I remember telling him then that that is the route to the transformation of our country. Today we are gathered here from government, from the private sector, and from development partners to agree on various things. Number one, to agree on review of curriculum of our technical, industrial, vocational, education and training, so that we can eliminate the mismatch of skills and the demand of industry and the market. Secondly, to agree on a competence-based education and training program that will obviously lead to us focusing our resources and attention on the areas that are going to create the men and women that will help us turn the wheels of our economy into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say the following, that a construction or a building is as good as the architect, the mason, the electrician, the plumber. And none of them is more important than the other. The architect is as good as the draftsman, and is as good as the plumber, and as good as the electrician and the mason. Unless you have a good architect, unless you have a good mason, and an electrician, and a plumber, you cannot get a good building. A surgery will not happen until you have the X-ray technologist, the lab technician, the nurse, and the doctor. And none of them is more important than the other. And let me use this occasion to disabuse ourselves of the false notion that has been propagated over the years that there are professions that are more important than others, that the doctor is more important than the X-ray technologist, that the architect or the engineer is more important than the mason or the electrician. For us to have a quality product, we must have all the skills, the competencies, and the knowledge that collectively give us a good product. And because we have to deal with this issue, because we have propagated for 50 years the wrong impression about education in our country, a couple of things must happen. And this is what, as government, we are doing to reorient education and training in our country. Number one, we want to create equality, that students going to university and students going to TIVET institutions must have equal access to funding for their programs. That the same way we give university loans for those going to university, the government is making available college loans for those who are going to TIVET institutions. Because none is more important than the other. Number two, because of the importance attached in our roadmap to a middle-income economy by 2030, and because it is necessary to have, according to our roadmap, 450,000 artisans, 90,000 technicians, 22,000 technologists, the government is rolling out a program to have at least a TIVET institution in every constituency in the country by the next 5 years. We are starting with a program this year with development partners to have the first 135 institutions in 135 constituencies in the country, because we realize that for us to attain the high targets we have set for ourselves in growing this country, we must have men and women that have been trained not on how things are done, but on how to do things.
Not that they don't have the papers, but some have the papers. And annually we train about 6,000 inmates who qualify and get trade tests, government trade tests, and they all go to the market very expensive. So they are doing very good work. Thank you and welcome to prisons and see what they do.
A gift from the Master Artisan. At this time, as we conclude, Your Excellency, sir, I would like to call upon yet another Master Artisan to say a vote of thanks, the Chairman of CATI and Chief Principal.